Well, good morning, everybody. A warm welcome. It's a little bit chilly, though. It's qualifying 2 here at Monza. Certainly this weekend, we have witnessed what has to be some incredible racing, some incredible moments, but nevertheless, it has been absolutely fantastic to be back here at the Temple of Speed, the Autodromo Nacional di Monza, 5.793 kilometers, 3.6 miles of pure speed and racing action. We witnessed a great race yesterday, lots of action battles, safety cars in the mix as well. My name is George Morgan. Commentating alongside me is Ian Silvestrin. Ian, we witnessed a corker yesterday, lots of drama, but nevertheless, the overtaking, the battles, the action was tremendous.
It was a bizarre race yesterday. It was a spectacular race, finishing in, well, somewhat controversial circumstances. Yes, a very good morning to everybody joining our coverage for qualifying 2 here this morning. You said a very warm welcome just a few moments ago, George. It's warmer than yesterday, let's say that thankfully, because the rain that poured down all day yesterday, it has passed, and the track for the most part is, well, prove me a liar as you look at the pictures of Korsanowski in 5. Just being passed there by Alberto Di Folco, whom you're right on board with at the moment. The track we expect to be dry for the last part of qualifying at the end of this half hour. A moment there for Di Folco on the outlap. He's in the gravel. Oh, what a start to qualifying.
A rude awakening this morning, heading around the Curva Grande, just dipping his toes into the gravel trap. Not ideal at all for Alberto Di Folco. Taking a wheel this time at qualifying. It was James Rowe who qualified yesterday in our first session of qualifying, but this time it's Alberto Di Folco's turn, and the Italian taking an early bath in the gravel for a brief period there, but he's got himself back on track. He's all okay. He's now about to tackle the Lesmo corners, but that's certainly one way to wake yourself up in the morning, yeah?
Yeah, very good morning to Alberto. I don't think he had enough Italian coffee this morning. Take a look at this. In Curva Grande, in the gravel, on his outlap. We were just referring to the circuit. It is for the most part dry, but there are damp parts on the circuit. We are expecting to qualify and race on the Michelin slicks. Just caught out on a greasy part of the circuit. Did very well to manage that off the throttle, work the wheel incredibly back onto the circuit. No harm done. Except I guess his heart rate was up around close to the 200 mark there early on Sunday morning.
Wouldn't be surprised. Nevertheless, they've got 27 minutes to go in this session. Now, that may seem a lot right now, but for the drivers out on track looking to enlist a heavy lap time, every minute, every second counts. Jamie Stanley, currently out on track. He's gone purple in the first sector, at least for now, but these are very early moments. The cars obviously need to get the tyres warmed up and prepped. There's the Honda making its grandiose return as well this weekend. And also, yesterday's pole sitter, of course, Yannick Mettler was behind the wheel. This time it's Dexter Muller, who is certainly going to be grasping at the wheel this time. He is now looking to, once again, enlist a very good performance from the SBS Performance Mercedes team that have been so prominent all weekend long. He's making his way down the Serigilio Straight before then tackling the Ascari chicane. Very fast-paced, this circuit of Monza. As I said, it's the world's third purpose-built racing circuit after Brooklands and Indianapolis, and has hosted the likes of the Italian Grand Prix, with the exception of 1980, every year since 1949. Oh, dearie me! That is Leo Lucas off the track. The McLaren 720S is currently stranded on the side of the circuit, is still running, which is a relief, obviously, but yellow flags waved at that portion of the circuit. And
down into the Parabolica, George.
Yeah, absolutely, into the Parabolica. Let's have a view on this. Let me just see him just getting all bent out of shape, heading into the Parabolica, rumbling over the curbs, and was able to avoid the gravel trap, which is obviously a relief, I can imagine, for Leo Lucas.
There was a damp part of the circuit just on the braking line, which is very inconvenient. As we look at the 911 Get Speed car, Sebastian Boll behind the wheel. A good run from them yesterday. You can see the track. It is largely dry, but there are damp parts of the circuit, as Lucas just found out, down into the Parabolica. We are qualifying, we are racing, hopefully later this afternoon, on the Michelin slick tyre. So qualifying underway, and a nervous start for a few drivers here on a greasy circuit. We are expecting a few more degrees of temperature here at the circuit today. The rain, thankfully, has passed as the cars come out over Roger chicane. up towards the Lesmo curves, this historic, this famous, and this super fast circuit. This afternoon's race will be a cracker, but we will be missing a few drivers. Unfortunately, a few cars will not take part in qualifying, nor the race this afternoon.
No, absolutely right indeed. We witnessed quite a few incidents yesterday. Unfortunately for Moritz Kranz and Janine Schaffner, their Mercedes not fit to race today after a heavy smash leading in towards turn one. Collision there with Marcin Jedlinski's Audi forced them to retire. Very much like the Olymp car itself, also sustained some heavy damage, not to mention a collision with the Oregon Racing team as well. But there is the Olymp Racing car now, and if in fact some new body parts as well, not the familiar purple that we're so used to seeing, but nevertheless Marcin Jedlinski, you can see there the car being worked on in the pit lane. Great to see them out and about though, however, but we will not be seeing the likes of Janine Schaffner and Moritz Kranz, unfortunately. Janine was okay after the incident, which was obviously a relief. Obviously had to take checks, but nevertheless great to hear that she's okay. There's the Team GT car also out on track. Alan Valente behind the wheel of this one, and they'll be looking for a big result as well. Scored their first win of the season back at Hungary, of all places, and what a moment it was for both Alan Valente and Florian Scholze to take that W. They also won their Pro-Am category yesterday as well, so they are in rude health right now, as well as a second place overall. Not a bad performance at all, Ian.
Certainly, and we're looking for this car that you ride on board with at the moment, the Imperiale Lamborghini. A lot of expectations on them this weekend. James Rowe started the car yesterday in race one, had a very good first in. Alberto Di Folco, a lot of pressure on him coming off a win last week in Vallelunga in the Italian Championship, but it was a stint to forget for the Italian driver. As you look at the Chinese driver in the Japanese car for the Italian team, the Honda is back. The 2 Series debutantes out on the circuit at the moment. Jiwei Liu in car 99, the car that was on the podium in 2021. 525, the Imperiale Lamborghini, Alberto Di Folco, the Italian sharing the car with the Irishman, James Rowe. This is yesterday's race winner, Klaus Bachler, took that car to the checkered flag. In fact, it was the red flag. He was in third place. Let's just briefly explain what happened yesterday. He was in third off the restart, overtook Roman Zeman in the dying stages of the race, made the move down into that Ascari chicane right there, and the race was red flagged moments later, and Team Dynamic Motorsport, with Klaus Bachler behind the wheel, took a fabulous win on their return to GTOpen.
Certainly did a wonderful job as well, not to mention their purple in the first 2 sectors here at Monza as well, heading down towards the Parabolica. Could be enough to usurp that of David Fuminelli, who currently holds the top time, a 155.333 to his name. Of course, David Fuminelli, no stranger to nabbing pole positions here in the GTOpen. Klaus Bachler looking to do exactly the same for Dynamic Motorsport, though. The Porsche crosses the line, hits the front end with a 154.745. An absolutely brilliant time to get things going, just under 6/10, but Glenn Van Berlo now crosses the line and takes that advantage. P1 now, and he's within half a second. He's well within that, in fact, within a tenth, within half a tenth. Incredible work from Glenn Van Berlo, recovering after yesterday's disappointment. They, of course, were at the victim of multiple spins around turn one. They were also right in the midst of that collision where Marcin Jedlinski went into Janine Schaffner, and of course Jedlinski's Audi just continued across the chicane, tapping that of the Oregon car, doing enough to make a spin, but it was almost like a dance move. He managed to straighten the car back up, and down the Curva Grande he went,
twice,
which was
in
good
fact.
to see.
They had 2 360 spins yesterday.
They were on the ball.
Yeah, they were last at one point in the race. Incredibly, they did get some points. It looked as though their teammates would leapfrog them in the championship, but they still do have the championship lead by just 2 points. The Oregon cars at 19 and 63. Benjamin Hitez, last year's race winner, behind the wheel. In fact, we ride on board with him in just a moment. Hopefully, he's gone purple in Sector 1, purple in Sector 2. This will surely be provisional pole for the Chilean in car 63 as he goes into the Parabolica. The track is getting better. We saw his teammate, the other Oregon car, just a few moments ago, lock up under brakes down into turn 1 as we watch Benjamin Hitez come across the line, and will surely go to P1. Indeed he does. It's a 153.472, so it's a good half a second faster than Alain Valente. Glenn Van Berlo, Klaus Bachler drops back to 4, and Alberto Di Folco 525 in position 5. This is Fuminelli, And it looks as though the Italian will go to the top in the Ferrari, sharing this car with the Turk Murat Cuadaroglu across the line. Goes David Fuminelli. And he goes to the top, a 153, 119 momentarily. Surely they'll be into the 152s as the track gets better and better here at Monza.
Yeah, David Fuminelli, no stranger to pole positions I alluded to before. Remember, back all the way back at Estoril, qualifying on pole there as well. He did the same in the 24-hour Spa. Obviously, that was the Spa weekend, where, of course, we saw them take the endurance event. Of course, Fuminelli managing to take the fast time, but unfortunately, it was averaged out. But Fuminelli was the fastest that weekend. Once again, he's at the top this time, 153.119. Benjahites just gone quickest in the first sector as well. Klaus Bachler improving as well his end. David Fuminelli not on quite or as such of a fast lap at this point. Of course, in the midst of a little bit of traffic, he's got the Get Speed Performance Mercedes in front of him, the pink one, that of course being driven by none other than Steve Jans at this point, who currently sits in 8th on the classification right now. Benjahites currently second behind David Fuminelli. Glenn Van Berlo third fastest as well. Giuseppe Cipriani has placed his car up into 12th, another car that found itself in the gravel yesterday, but great to see him back in amongst it today. As we're now seeing more cars come through. Kiki Saknana moving up 14th fastest. Benjahites now purple in the second sector. He's finding more and more time now as the track starts to warm up. These times are cascading downwards right now. Purple in that second sector. Also going fast is Klaus Bachler. Was fastest in the first sector. Hites goes to the top with a 152.537. The sole man in the 152s now. 2 purple sectors, the second and the third. Can he be toppled? There's still just over 18 minutes to go.
Klaus Bachler won't do so on this lap. Yesterday's race winner comes up to the line and starts another flying lap. At the moment, car 24, the sole Porsche in this race this weekend, in position 5, and starts a flying lap. So the order is Hites, Fuminelli, Glenn Van Berlo, Alain Valente, Klaus Bachler, Steve Jans in the Get Speed car. Just in the background, in position 6, DeFalco, Jamie Stanley, the series debutant 2022. Pascal Bachmann qualified dead last yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. He's up into the top 10 at the moment, just ahead of the Honda of Jiwei Liu. So we are approaching halfway in the session. A big lock up there for the McLaren being driven here this morning. I think that's Joe behind the wheel. Indeed, it is in car 72. George, they had a bizarre issue yesterday. They did not finish the race.
No, alternator problem. I spoke to Nick Moss in the paddock yesterday, and he confirmed to me that they had an electrical fault. It was the alternator, just wasn't charging the car. We saw the lights shut completely off on that Optimum Motorsport McLaren 720S. It was parked up. We saw a funny moment. Joe Osborne out the car, just putting his foot in the engine bay, trying to get something repaired. Nick Moss had a funny anecdote for that, but look at the traffic heading through the Lesmo. Look at them, and you can see the hand being waved by Alberto De Falco saying, what are you doing here at this point? Incredible moments indeed. Of course, they're all battling for track space, because track space is everything in qualifying. David Fuminelli already going faster, though. He has gone fastest in the first sector. What about Joe Osborne? He's also on a fast lap as well. Fastest in the second sector as things stand. Fuminelli making his way through the Ascari chicane as well, as we can now see the Optimum Motorsport McLaren now working its way through that final Parabolica curve. And he'll very shortly head down the straight as well. Heading out now, the slingshot now, which will lead him down this main straight, the speed trap at the end. But of course, it'll be the start-finish line that he's more concerned about. Joe Osborne to register his time. He will land himself currently 6th fastest here on this classification. Fuminelli still now in 3rd. Klaus Bachler also down in 2nd place. You got David Fuminelli now about to cross the line. Purple in the first 2 sectors. The Italian looking to go to the top. He does. A 151.753, an almighty just under 0.8 of a second faster than Benjahites.
So Fuminelli into the 152s, interestingly as well. 274 k's an hour for the Kessel Racing Ferrari. On your screen, they go P1. The Ferrari here at Monza. Would it be anything else? Of course, the Mercedes dominance from 2 weeks ago at the Red Bull Ring. There were 10 Mercedes in the race 2 weeks ago. There's just 4 here this weekend, a field of 22 cars. 8 different manufacturers, the McLaren, the Ferrari, the Porsche, and the Mercedes. On your screen yesterday, this is yesterday's race winner, Klaus Bachler, just going by Stanislav Jedlinski, who's sharing that car with his fellow Pole, Christian Korsanowski. Fuminelli is on another lap as well, so the track is getting better and better. The rain has passed. We are into qualifying halfway through the session here this morning. We prepare for race 2 this afternoon at the Cathedral of Speed. Under the bridge goes Klaus Bachler down into the Ascari chicane. It won't be this lap that he improves. David Fuminelli currently in position 1, may go even faster, 276 k's an hour through the speed trap last time for Fuminelli in car 133.
Yeah, absolutely, he's got purple in the second sector. Joe Osborne just trying to make himself some room as well, going past the man-filter Team Landgraf Mercedes. And there goes Joe Osborne in behind the dynamic motorsport Porsche, now making its way through the final corner as well. But Fuminelli is the one we've got our sights set on. He's already gone just over half a second quicker in the second sector, and we'll soon see what it looks like as he crosses the line. The times are really coming down. Joe Osborne now going fourth fastest, and has found a good considerable amount of time. He's gone ahead of Klaus Bachler and Glenn Van Berlo. In comes David Fuminelli now, opens up the door, heads down the straight now. A Ferrari going fastest at Monza. It's certainly meant to be as he now crosses the line. Oh, he lost a lot of time in the third sector though. Traffic, you have to imagine, perhaps got in the way. We saw quite a stream of cars heading through that particular point. Obviously Ascari, it can get so congested, certainly with the mix of cars we have here today. Obviously a mixture of pros, a mixture of pro-ams and am contenders here, folks. Alan Valente though returning. Yeah, he of course second fastest. Team GT, as I alluded to, a great visit yesterday, second overall, winning their pro-am class. Of course, Alan Valente being partnered with Florian Scholze. Remember, this partnership went on to win at Hungary only a matter of a month or so ago, and Valente now purple in the first and second sector. He's going to certainly try and enlist this Mercedes to the top end of things. Can he unseat the Ferrari here as we now reach the final 13 minutes of qualifying? They head now down towards the Parabolica. Joe Osborne also out on track. He's improved in that first sector. David Fuminelli also showing improvements again too, so do not count out that Ferrari. But Valente now, he's going to come through the final corner and venture down this long straight, come across the start-finish line. Will it be a purple lap for Alan Valente? Will he usurp that of David Fuminelli across the line very shortly? Valente, is it to be? It is. Goes just under 2.5 tenths quicker than that of David Fuminelli, a 151.513, and here comes Joe Osborne with the Olymp Audi in behind him now as well.
Great lap from Alain Valente, virtually his home race, the Swiss driver. We're only about 1 hour's drive south of the Swiss border here in the north of Italy as we look at the Optima McLaren car 72 of Joe Osborne come across the line. Currently in position 4. Doesn't improve, 1 second on pole position. That was a great lap from Alain Valente. Team GT had a quiet run yesterday, but wow, at the moment, they're on provisional pole position. Fuminelli winds up a 150, 999. He's into the 150s, and he retakes pole position. Super lap from David Fuminelli. So the Ferrari is ahead of the Mercedes of Alain Valente. Oregon with Benjamin Hites in P3. And the fourth different manufacturer inside the top 4, the McLaren of Joe Osborne for Optimum Motorsport in 4th place on the grid at the moment. There's just over 10 minutes remaining in qualifying 1, the penultimate round of the GTOpen International Championship. Fuminelli through Curva Grande, the big curve, up into the Rocha chicane.
Yeah, it certainly has been a very exciting qualifying session so far, swapping P1 all across the board here. Jamie Stanley has just gone 6th fastest as well. He's placed his car up in the top 10 and in the top 6 now as well, just ahead of Klaus Bachler, who's still in 7th place. He went purple in the 3rd sector on his last run, Klaus Bachler. As we're now watching David Fuminelli come on through, there's the Team GT. To mention as well, we're now watching on our screens Giuseppe Cipriani, currently leading the AMP contingent in terms of qualifying right now. Is Kiki Sagnana, I'll change it. Kiki Sagnana has now gone the faster of the AMs right now. 10th fastest for Kiki Sagnana. Brilliant display, certainly from him, but Giuseppe Cipriani now comes across the line. Lucas goes into 11th fastest. That's Leo Lucas in the Pro-Am category. 11th fastest ahead of Cipriani now, who's in 12th. Pascal Bachmann in the Street Art Aston Martin, also in 13th. Great to see them back this weekend as well. As the cars they make their way through the first sector, Giuseppe Cipriani be looking to get his Lamborghini back underway. David Fuminelli, we can see in picture, improving in that second sector as well. He could once again chop at that wood at that 1:50. Can he do just that? Jedlinski's just gone 9th fastest in the Audi. In comes Fuminelli though, not looking to enlist his lap this time.
George, keeping one eye on the pit lane, of course. A big crash yesterday for car 777. It's been hastily cobbled together, different colours, a lot of Polish fans supporting the Olymp Racing team with 2 cars, 1 Ferrari. That's car 5, currently being driven by Stanislav Jedlinski. Marcin Jedlinski has gone out onto the circuit. We were not expecting them to even take part in qualifying. They are on track at the moment, currently in position 15. They've just spent half of the session in the pits, just checking that that car is, well, raceable, drivable, but that's not a bad effort for Marcin Jedlinski at the moment in position 15 in a car which has been repaired into the early hours this morning.
Yeah, and also another car that's had a makeover is this Oregon car. Obviously, as you can see, the front end, they've put a new bumper on the front of that Lamborghini. You just see the tail just getting a little bit out of shape as Ben Jahites is trying to extract every little bit of time he can out of the Lamborghini. In behind, he has got company, that of Jamie Stanley in the AF Corsa Ferrari as well. Ferrari's really going well this weekend at Monza, as you would expect, of course, the hometown circuit for the Maranello brand, as we're now watching the cars shoot their way through the Curva Grande. And Ben Jahites currently sits 4th fastest, leading the pros in a sense, because Osborne's in behind him, so is Van Berlo, Backler and Jans. There is Fuminelli's car. New tyres being put on the car, so they're going to go for another fast one with just over 9 minutes to go. It's crunch time now, Ian. New tyres on the car. This is a message being sent from Dan Fuminelli.
Lights up the rear Michelins and exits the pits. You can see the track is getting better and better.
Osborne.
Rain, the great equaliser as Joe goes to the top. Well, I was just going to ask you the hypothetical question. This is a mixed qualifying session, if we can call it that. The track's still greasy, particularly down into the Ascari chicane. Just under 10 minutes remaining at the moment. Osborne in the McLaren P1, Fuminelli in the Ferrari P2, Vellante in the Mercedes P3. George, who's going to take pole position?
It's a good question there, Ian. I just seen confirmation that Joe Osborne's time has just been deleted for track limits at turn 10. So that's the news from the stewards on our screens. We can just see Ben Jahites currently purple in the first sector. To answer your question, I couldn't really tell you. David Fuminelli, I would say, who has been such an incredible qualifier over the course of the season. You'd fancy him to go fastest of all. Let's see what Ben Jahites can do, though, because all he needs is a rapid 3rd sector to place his car further up the order. 2nd fastest, a great display from Ben Jahites, and that places him just on our screens behind Joe Osborne. We did get the message, just looking at the screen, time deleted.
It was a previous lap, though, so his pole position lap for the moment does still stand as Hites locks up down into the chicane. So this pole position lap, the car on your screen at the moment in the background, Joe Osborne, his previous lap, his 2nd quickest lap, that was deleted. The 150.411 stands. The British driver, the British supercar, the British team here in Italy is currently on pole position with just over 7 minutes remaining. I'm going to suggest it is Joe. You're calling Fuminelli. £2 on it?
Well, if you want to play a risky game like that, I don't know, but we'll have to wait and see. Klaus Backler, though, is gone fastest of all. We might both be wrong at this rate. Klaus Backler now heading down the straight. Joe Osborne not far behind him. In comes Osborne, and may even strap on a new set of tyres as Backler goes fastest with a 149.911. And call 911 at this point. Backler on top. Half a second back, Joe Osborne. Great display from Dynamic all weekend. They won yesterday and now currently hold on to pole position with a little over 6.5 minutes to go.
Actually, can I change my pick?
Too late.
Yeah.
Too late.
Actually, the Porsche, in all seriousness, does look very good on this circuit.
Yeah. They looked great yesterday. They were absolutely superb. I mean, Klaus Backler was really on the money, as was his teammate, as we now see, Alan Valente in the Team GT Mercedes, as I alluded to before. Oh, getting a little bit out of shape, heading through the next right at the Parabolica. Will, of course, be now making his way down the straight. Be looking for some improvements. David Fuminelli out, just trying to get those new tyres up to temperature. There goes the Mercedes across the line. 3rd fastest for Alan Valente. The Pro-Am now separating that to Ben Jahites and Joe Osborne. And there is the other Oregon car, of course, being driven by Glenn Van Berlo. He's about to come around the Parabolica too. Currently sits 8th fastest in this classification. Heading down now towards the line. He'll go past the pit lane on the right-hand side. What's it going to be for Van Berlo? Is it a rapid improvement? Let's wait and see. 2nd fastest goes ahead of Joe Osborne now. Osborne now out on an outlap with a little over 5 minutes. Here comes Fuminelli on that fresh rubber as he now comes up towards the line himself. What's it going to be for him? He remains 6th fastest. Joe Osborne in 2nd fastest again. He's soling it back. Incredible scenes. There's chopping and changing places right through this session right now. 5 minutes to go. It's anyone's game right now.
Joe Osborne has just left pit lane with a new set of Michelin tyres, trying to take pole position away from Klaus Bachler, who is currently in P1 in a 149 with a 149.911. Fulminelli drops down to P5. The car on your screen through Curva Grande. Yesterday's pole-sitting car, Yannick Mettler, was behind the wheel yesterday, 24 hours ago. Car 54 being driven by Dexter Miller. Here is the Gatsby car. Alain Valenti down the inside on a greasy part of the circuit. Into the Ascari chicane. Not a bad lap for Alain Valenti, but he won't improve on it. He'll have, what, 2, possibly 3 laps remaining. The dying stages of qualifying 1 here this morning at Monza. It is Klaus Bachler, P1, Joe Osborne, P2, the car on your screen in position 3. Hites also on a lap as well.
Yeah, plenty of them on laps as well. Steve Jans just enlisted a purple sector 1, so he's finding plenty of time as well. So we'll keep our eyes peeled now as Alain Valenti heads around the Parabolica. Lost a little bit of time in the second sector, but we'll head across the start-finish line, just flashing his lights to the Kessel Racing Ferrari, just to let him know that he is going to be on a fast run at this point. Of course, only 4 minutes still to go. There is the dynamic motorsport car, of course, belonging to Klaus Bachler, who currently sits on pole position. Benji Hites has just gone 3rd fastest as well. Steve Jans, as I alluded to, fastest in the first sector. He's looking to bring forward his car to the front end as well. There is the Get Speed Performance Mercedes, now heading on through this vibrant pink colour. Van Berlo has just gone up into 5th as well. They're all coming in, nip and tuck, right through the end of qualifying. Steve Jans has got a little bit of traffic though. He's lost a little bit of time in the second sector, does not want to lose anything else in the third. There you can see Kiki Sagnana ahead of him as well in the sister Get Speed Performance car as well, as they now head through the next right-hander. There you can see Steve Jans now just tickling that throttle as he heads through the Parabolica. Kiki Sagnana doing the same. You'll get a nice almighty toe there off Kiki, I would imagine. But at the same time, he won't appreciate the block if he does get one. Crosses the line, loses time, a 151.475, only enough for 7th fastest, which is quickly usurped by DeFalco, Alberto DeFalco, up into 7th place.
Okay, here we go, the dying stages of qualifying 1 here this morning. Bachler still on pole position. Steve Jans goes straight ahead, and that lap is now ruined. Joe Osborne sits in behind car 25. Incidentally, a fantastic effort from Marcin Jedlinski. The 777 Olymp Racing Audi was in P9 just a few moments ago, just drops back to P12 on an out lap, so they've done an incredible job to get that car out onto the circuit. A moment for Joe Osborne. A greasy part of the circuit, rides the ripple strip through the Ascari chicane. It's not a bad lap though, purple in the first sector. Has he backed out of it? No, it's still flat down the back straight into the Parabolica. We're watching the Brit in car 72. Hites right behind him, tries to follow through. We'll have 2 laps remaining at the end of this one. Doesn't look like the best final sector, but the time will tell if Joe Osborne can improve. Comes up to the line, purple in sector 1, a personal best in sector 2. Joe Osborne currently in position 4. Does not improve, lost a ton of time right here, down into the Ascari chicane, aborts the lap in fact. That was a moment that could have thrown the 72 McLaren into the gravel. Joe does nicely to hold on to it. And the British driver in position 4, provisionally on the grid, winds up for one final shot at qualifying here this morning. Fulminelli currently on pole position with less than 2 minutes remaining.
Absolutely right. Steve Jans also trying to find more time. He went fastest again in the first sector. Seems to like it a lot through there. And the Mercedes looking really effective at the start of the lap. Obviously the mid sector is where he's lost a little bit though, however. Alberto DeFalco also improving on his laps too, as we just witnessed Steve Jans move up the order as well. DeFalco has just gone 4th fastest. Impressive lap indeed. Joe Osborne has already found just under 0.4 of a second in his first sector too. So all the times now cascading downwards. It's going to be a firecracker finale here in qualifying. There we can see David Fulminelli. He's found improvements in the first sector too. So they're all lighting up here at this point with just over a minute left in this session. Joe Osborne, who's now currently the fastest man of all on track. He's gone faster again in that second sector. He is absolutely flying here at this point in the Optimum McLaren. He's going to look for a gargantuan recovery. He's got a Kessel Racing Ferrari just ahead of him. Hopefully he'll punch a hole in the air for him at least, but he will not appreciate a block as now Osborne follows that Ferrari now down this back straight, now opens the door. He will have the Parabolica to take next. Fulminelli, of course, will be coming through soon as well as they head through that final corner now, the Parabolica, which will tee up the straight now, which is dead dead ahead of them. The speed trap at the end of this particular straight. The start-finish line ahead of him. Joe Osborne, is this enough for P1 as he comes up towards the line? He does! A 1:49.281, a brilliant time, just over half a second, well, faster than that of David Fuminelli. A wonderful visit. Fuminelli in behind as well, looking to try and jump back into the front. He does! Brilliant! 1:49.095. Purple Sector 1, Sector 2, and now Sector 3. That Ferrari is on top there, Ian Silvestrin.
The checkered flag is now waving. The Ferrari is on pole position here at Monza, but there are still a few cars to cross the line. Fuminelli and Joe Osborne will get one more final lap. Hitez drops down to position 6. He's on a flying lap as well. The checkered flag is now waving across the line. Lucas crosses the line. Pascal Bachmann in position 11 at the moment in car 007. As we watch Fuminelli, one final crack. He's into the 149s, almost into the 148s. This is not the cleanest lap though, and he's following the Oregon Lamborghini just ahead. Fuminelli on pole position. DeFalco goes up into P3. Jans in 4. Backler in P5. Joe Osborne is flying. Here comes the Brit. Osborne purple in the first sector. It's not over yet. Klaus Backler will not take pole position. He was looking good earlier on in the session. Osborne's backed out of it. Osborne will not take pole position. He abandons the lap despite going purple in Sector 1. It's looking good for Fuminelli. Valente Hitez, also not the best laps they've done here this morning. It's looking good for Fuminelli to start from pole position for race 2 here this afternoon. DeFalco across the line in 3, Valente 4, Jans 5, Backler 6. Great job from Jamie Stanley, the Brit in P8. We wait for, it's basically a formality now. Fuminelli will take pole position, almost certainly. We'll confirm that in just a few moments' time.
That must mean I win our little exchange then. And for, sorry,
you
Ian.
do too, you do too. Well done. £2, what does that convert to in euro?
No, wonderful exchange certainly, and that's exactly what we needed at qualifying. Van Berlo's just gone 8th fastest as well, ahead of Jamie Stanley, who's now down to 9th. Alexander Rakowina crosses the line, stays in 18th fastest, but it will be David Fuminelli on top, ahead of Joe Osborne, who's in 2nd. The cars now will make their way into the pit lane. The checkered flag down here. Alberto DeFalco, a wonderful visit, returning with a 3rd place here in qualifying. That's where he'll start. Grid position 3 for Imperial Racing, and that's going to be excellent. It'll certainly give them a huge chance at some big points here this afternoon when we go racing here at Monza. But there you see it, the man who has been so good in qualifying all season long, yet another pole position to add to his repertoire. David Fuminelli takes pole position, a purple lap of a 1:49.095 for Kessel Racing Ferrari. The Tifosi would be proud.
Just hearing them say, I never had any doubt. As we take a look at the results of qualifying here this morning, Kessel Racing take pole position with David Fuminelli almost into the 148 to 149.095, just a 10th of a second faster than Joe Osborne. So the McLaren will line up on grid 2 this afternoon at 49.281. DeFalco, grid 3 for Imperiale Racing. Alain Valente, good job from them, P4. Steve Jans forgets speed performance of 49.701. Klaus Backler, yesterday's race winner, will start on the outside 3rd row of the grid. Then it's Hitez and Glenn Van Berlo. The Oregon team lock out the 4th row. Jamie Stanley for AF Corse, a good drive from him. P9 and Roman Zomian out of 10. How about Giuseppe Cipriani on his return? The rampant Baron out of 11. Pascal Bachmann, Leo Lucas in the 2nd. McLaren out of 13. Marcin Jedlicki. Fabulous work from the Olymp Racing team to line that car up for what, on 14th on the grid this afternoon. Muller, Jiwo Leo, Kiki Sagnana, Alexander Rakowina, Stephen Earl, Stanislav Jedlinski. Here's the final qualifier. Will start on the outside of the 10th row of the grid. David Fuminelli on your screen takes pole position for Kessel Racing. Alberto DeFalco, Imperiale Racing. A better run from the Italian this morning, sharing this car with the Irishman, James Rowe. They'll want redemption after a forgettable race yesterday. Joe Osborne was on provisional pole for much of the session, and they will start on grid 2 for race 2 this afternoon, a time of 1:49.281. But it is David Fuminelli for Kessel Racing who has taken pole position race 2, the penultimate round of the GTOpen International Championship. A fabulous lap on a greasy track, a 1:49.095. David Fuminelli is down in pit lane with Alfredo now.
That was a very close fight for the pole position for race 2 here at Monza, and at the end, once again, David Fumanelli.
Yeah, it's been crazy session with the track getting faster and faster. I was scared in the last lap because I got traffic, so I knew the qualifying was, close to who was able to do the last lap with a faster track. But we were able to do it one lap before, so it's amazing for me. It's my home track because I live in Lesmo, so it's an amazing feeling. I really wanted to do this pole position and to continue the pole position strike we've been doing. I think it's 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 6, depending if you count Spa.
And because you are a kid from here, you know if it's gonna rain this afternoon?
I don't know. I really hope not, because I think we have a very good pace in the dry. We show in practice and even today in quali, even if it was a hybrid condition. But I hope for the dry, but let's see. We're gonna be ready anyway.
Well done for now. All the best for later.
Thank you.
Bravo.
Well, a wonderful result for David Fumanelli at his home race, certainly, and we'll look forward to seeing how he gets on later on this afternoon. Join us for the race 2, here at Monza later on.